Hey everyone, really good to see you all. Final talk of the day. Stand between you and some drinks, so I better make it snappy and good. I'm Jessie, I'm the founder and CEO at Provenance. We've been exhibiting here today, and lots of the Provenance team are around here, so lots of people to chat to from the crew. And my talk today is all about how to future-proof your sustainability marketing. So I'll give you a bit of an introduction to the problem we're solving at Provenance, a little bit about what we do as well, and then actually the lion's share of my talk, I'm going to dig into some really exciting new insights that we have from a new consumer research report that we just released today. So hot off the press. So let me just introduce the problem. So at Provenance, we really believe that brands without sustainability credentials are going to be completely irrelevant by 2030. The reality is the market is shifting very quickly. People want to buy products that match their values. And we're seeing that being supported in tons of different research sources, not just ones that we've been involved with. So how's that playing out? We're seeing shoppers are changing their preferences based on sustainability, so whether that's social or environmental impact. We're also seeing shoppers are more likely to trust product sustainability claims if they've been verified. And we're also seeing a rise of greenwash. So brands making misleading or uncredible sustainability claims on purpose or not. And this is the kind of problem arena Provenance really sits in. Now, it's not just responding to consumer pressure, it's also responding to regulation. So some of you would have seen the Competition and Markets Authority put out their Green Claims Code. And this is really kind of one example of how government is getting in and making sure that we are reducing greenwash. They've stated some very clear things that brands need to do in order to make sure that when they communicate on sustainability, it's truthful and accurate, it's clear and unambiguous, it doesn't hide or omit information. It only makes fair and meaningful comparisons, and it considers the full life cycle of the product, so materially important. And last but certainly not least, can be substantiated. So we're seeing consumer pressure, we're also seeing government regulation coming in. And this is really what Provenance exists to do. Like, our big, hairy, audacious goal is to empower 1 billion shoppers to choose products that match their values. And in order to do that, we run a software service that powers claims that you can trust, essentially, meeting the Competition Authority's regulatory guidelines and also really meeting the requirements of an incredibly more discerning shopper. So how does Provenance manifest? So you'll see Provenance around the internet. You'll see Power by Provenance underneath the key claims related to the brand or product level impact. So that could be something from female-owned business, if that's what you're interested in buying into, recyclable packaging, vegan, cruelty-free, and increasingly things related to workers or climate-related products like net zero. So look out for us around the internet on brand and retailer sites. This is just a quick little video that gives you a little overview of what we do, better than me talking about it.
To protect people and the planet, we desperately need the brands that are making a positive social and environmental impact to win in the market. We're making that happen by increasing shopper engagement, improving e-commerce conversion, and building brand trust. Provenance uses technology to power sustainability claims you can trust.
The proof points sit on our website, on our product pages, and that enables consumers to click straight through and see the evidence. That's what Provenance does. It brings this verification that for a consumer right now is hugely reassuring.
So how does it work if you're a brand? So you can go onto our website, provenance.org/framework, and see a full open source guide to all of the different claims you can make as a brand. And that's across 5 different impact areas. So climate, waste, nature in the environmental category, and then workers and communities, which includes things like governance in the social categories. So you go on here, have a look at all of the different claims you could be making, and we've fully open sourced, made all of the criteria available for you to look at, and also what you need in order to meet the latest guidance in terms of evidence and also verification. And then you can use our software to manage those claims and then serve them up inside different e-commerce environments. So whether that's on your own brand website or through different retailer sites. And this helps shoppers to be able to see the claims you're making, know they're consistent, know they're credible, and also be able to double click and actually find out what they mean and even inspect the proof. So it really brings a whole new level of credibility to the sustainability information you're sharing. And at the moment, we're working with over 160 different beauty brands, kind of in the beauty, wellness, personal care space, to power this information, so D2C or through retail. But let me jump into the lion's share of the talk. So today we just released a new consumer research report called Skin Deep Beauty. It's all available free. You can download it really simply through our website. I think there's a QR code on our stand. And essentially what we've been looking at is what are shoppers' expectations and kind of what are they really expecting in the market when it comes to sustainability. Now, we've kind of been involved in various different research reports over the years, but this is the first one we commissioned, working in partnership with London Research. And essentially the report, we interviewed 1,500 different consumers. They must have bought a beauty product in the last 6 months to be eligible to be part of the research findings. So it's 500 people in the UK, 500 in Germany, 500 in the US. And we really interrogated them. We went into some quite serious detail on their sustainability preferences related to beauty, but also just wider attitudes. We also interviewed a bunch of different leaders from the industry. So whether that's third-party organizations such as the B Corp Beauty Coalition, or different sustainability leaders from various brands. And that was a huge range from kind of large retailers like Douglas in Germany to smaller kind of up-and-coming beauty brands like Subtract, who are based here in the UK. So I'll jump into some of the highlights. This is definitely kind of whistle-stop tour, so very much invite you to just download it. There's loads of stuff in there, so it's really it's difficult for me to summarize, but I'll try my best, and then please do dive in and go into a bit more detail. So really big highlight for the report was seeing the efficacy and value are no longer enough to win over conscious shoppers. So it used to be sustainability was a bit of a nice to have. It's now the 4th most important reason for buying a product. And we're seeing 15% of shoppers placing a high importance on it when it comes to making a choice. And we had the whopping stat that 9 out of 10 shoppers believe sustainability and other ethics-related considerations are important. So a lot of intent and a huge shift in intent. Like I think what we saw a few years ago was this was much lower down the stack as a nice to have. It's now become far more kind of front and center. There's a bit of a differentiation between kind of the German, British, and US markets when it came on kind of what are the most important most important factors. The order remains the same, but actually lots more emphasis from British shoppers, so 18% versus 12% in the US when thinking about sustainability. So average is 15, but yeah, interesting to see that a lot of that was in the UK. Then another finding was that beauty shoppers are struggling to trust brand claims. So 80% of beauty shoppers had doubts about whether to trust the industry's sustainability claims. And we saw less than 25% strongly agree that brands are transparent about the environmental and social impact of their products. So there's a disconnect. This has risen up the rankings in terms of importance to consumers, and we're seeing that play out in the market. Purpose-driven brands, far more edits in retailers based on sustainability. So it's not surprising that we're seeing that coming through, but a disconnect, a mistrust, an uncertainty that came through in the data. We had a nice quote actually. Sarah Brown, the founder of Pi Skincare, I'll just read that out to you. She said, kind of on this topic, she said, that really the issue is with kind of green and clean buzzwords, and really she saw that essentially there's so much murkiness out there. As one brand makes unsubstantiated claims, so does another, and it becomes self-perpetuating. And so there's very much an issue that this is happening, particularly in beauty, as lots of brands pile in to make sustainability claims. I mean, there have been previous research reports, so we drew on some secondary research. So, for example, New York Stern put out a really fantastic report in 2021 that looked at the market impact of sustainability. And it saw that brands marketing themselves as sustainable, whether that's true or not is another question, were growing 5 times faster than those that weren't. So I think you can see this disconnect really is playing out. Shoppers want it, brands are responding, but there's a kind of big mistrust gap. So independent verification, it hopefully won't surprise you to know, was a really key part of how how brands can win consumer trust. So we saw that coming up really at the top in terms of how you can essentially improve trustworthiness when it comes to conveying this information. So independent verifiers such as the Soil Association, we've got Sophie here, but also Fair Trade, Leaping Bunny, and that really came above kind of on-pack information such as ingredients, shopper reviews, other supporting information about your brand. So I think really important, there's going to be even more of a push towards certification in this industry, which is unsurprising. We've seen in food and drinks that's already happened. The proliferation of certifications has kind of penetrated that market. It's unsurprising to see that with skincare and going into further kind of sectors in beauty, that proliferation would also happen. The reality is brands can't mark their own homework. We know that's not going to work. And so sharing proof of kind of independent verification, it seems to be the most effective way to kind of assure shoppers that your claims are fact and not fiction. And we know that can be quite challenging for smaller brands. We've seen that at Provenance a lot. So bigger brands, we absolutely recommend get out there, get certified, you can afford it. Smaller brands, what we try to do with Provenance is help them initially with evidencing claims. So giving them the way to be able to be transparent, show evidence that relates to their claims, and then get them on a way to being verified by a third party. But yeah, I think even that transparency and being more open can also help with kind of solving this problem. There's a really nice quote from Evolve Organic Beauty. She said, independent certification bodies really help evolve organic beauty to stand out in a confusing market and provide our customers with transparent information on the leading work we do behind ethical and sustainable. So you can see lots of brands are already kind of adopting this approach. So another interesting insight is shoppers in the beauty space don't share brands' kind of tunnel vision on nature and waste related claims. So this is an interesting one. I think we'll definitely see this play out over the next few years. The reality is lots of brands have been crowding in on very few claims. So vegan, cruelty-free, some packaging related claims. But the reality is shoppers want a much more holistic view on sustainability than just looking at those few topics. And this came out really quite loud and clear through the data, which was really interesting to see. So this graph's a little bit hard to understand, but bear with me. The green bars are essentially the percentage of beauty shoppers that consider this an important issue. And then the kind of darker green is the claims that we've been publishing through Provenance and kind of where they sit across these different issues. So what you can see is nature and animal welfare, 46% say they're important, and a lot of brands are communicating on that. So there's a bit of a that's matching, that works. But actually with the other issues, there's a real mismatch. So things like waste, it's closer. 41 think it's important, and we have been seeing that rising through our data. And a good chunk of brands are communicating on that. That's great. Still work to do to meet the kind of expectation gap that shoppers are expecting. But good work has happened in that area. But the huge disconnect comes with treatment of workers, climate change related impact, and commitment to community. Those three complete disconnect between what brands are actually talking about versus what shoppers think are important. Now, workers' claims are really complicated. I think we all know that. To create an independently verified claim related to workers' rights is quite tricky. There are a few things you can do at a company level that are not too complicated, like proving you're paying living wage, those kinds of activities. And there's, of course, things like fair trade certification, but that's much less kind of recognized or expected in the beauty industry. But climate, it's actually very simple to jump on this bandwagon. Lots and lots of free or very cheap tools to do carbon-related measurements at scope 1 and 2, so your core operations, and then work to do reductions there. So I think there's a huge gap and opportunity for beauty brands to just do the basics in carbon measurement, do some reductions to be able to make some claims and actually meet this huge opportunity that shoppers are expecting to see, which is you responding to the climate crisis. So I think this is a really exciting opportunity for brands to kind of step into the space. Consumers are expecting it. They're not just expecting vegan, cruelty-free. And actually there's so many tools and initiatives kind of that you can be part of in that space. I think it presents a really exciting kind of business opportunity for brands. So let me give you just some of the takeaways. Appreciate this is very much the kind of lightweight version of the report. But just to kind of encapsulate some of the kind of main takeaways that are also come from other parts of the report. Apparently they're all called one. I guess they're all just equally important. Firstly, prioritize positive impact. So sustainability, it's becoming very clear, is an essential part of the purchasing decision for shoppers across the board, coming in fourth. That really is very, very important when you're talking about your products. Secondly, avoid buzzwords and vague claims. We saw that come through loud and clear. We've got a much savvier shopper on our hands now in the beauty industry. So trying to avoid ambiguous claims that lack context is just becoming a hard and fast rule. And it not only should you be doing that voluntarily because of data like this, you also need to be doing it in order to comply with things like the Competition and Markets Authority Green Claims Code. Thirdly, be transparent about products. So we did see a general transparency theme in terms of things like listing ingredients and making sure you do share detailed sustainability information. Listing ingredients, I think, has become table stakes now, but it's amazing how few people are doing it, particularly online, and it's a great opportunity for SEO as well. And then the last one is seeking out independent verification. So making sure you are working, if possible, with an independent third-party verifier in order to try and make sure you can substantiate your sustainability information. Shoppers aren't going to stand for brands marking their own homework for much longer. So get ahead of it. Try and put out evidence or other sort of transparency techniques if you can't afford to be verified. But ideally, on the key issues, you really need to be partnering with verifiers. Great, so appreciate that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour. We would absolutely love it if you could have a look at the report, share far and wide. We really hope these findings will also help businesses to make a business case for sustainability. We want this data to arm activists inside companies in order to try and create more urgency for making more social and environmental claims due to the great work you're doing. We're also offering a free sustainability consultation if any brands are interested in that, so that you can kind of kickstart and we can kind of show you more of the kind of report insights in detail and kind of also help you apply some of that stuff to your brand as well. But yeah, I will wind up here. Thank you everyone so much. And yeah, welcome a couple of questions, but appreciate I'm standing in the way of drinks. So if anyone has a question or two, be very happy to take it. Any questions? Did it all make sense? Yeah, sure.
Sorry, excuse me. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Hi, thank you for that. I just had a question because you mentioned your system works for both DTC and retailers, but then how does that work? I guess if you're on Cult Beauty, but then a brand hasn't done the work, then does it go through Cult Beauty asking the brand, or is the brand working directly with you? So we work with brands and retailers. It's slightly different for brands versus retailers. So brands, we're working directly with the brands, so it's super easy. We can help them identify what claims they can make now, and then also claims for the future that they're working towards, and then help them publish that through their own website. With retailers, we're essentially managing the claims across all of the different brands. So essentially we kind of are helping brands onboard, again, make claims and then share through something like Cult Beauty. So it's a sort of claims management program that goes across all of the different brands that sits within the retailer ecosystem. So what we kind of like to say is transparency is a journey. We don't expect every brand to get every claim on day one. But Provenance is really here to kind of help you make credible claims one by one, and you can keep building, keep adding. And we like to provide as many resources as we possibly can to make it as easy as possible to keep making claims. But so different retailers are approaching it in different ways. Cult Beauty's got this quite widely across their entire kind of collection. Some retailers are sort of more creating like smaller edits. But increasingly we're seeing some of these claims becoming quite table stakes, like cruelty-free, vegan, things like that. And then the rarer ones kind of laddering up into edits. Yeah, and sorry, another question. So
sure.
All the free form, like Sephora, Douglas got their own programs, but free, and there's no it seems that each retailer kind of do their own things. I don't know if, from your side, if you've got in regards to free of ingredients.
So at the moment we actually don't tackle kind of chemicals of concern through our framework. We're pretty focused on social and environmental impact specifically, but we've been requested this a lot, and it also is what's my personal annoyance as well, how different the kind of the different kind of standards are for different retailers when it comes to kind of clean ingredients. So yeah, we are working on that in the background. We've got some kind of ideas of how we can try and standardize that a little bit better. And with some of the retailers, yeah, we're kind of helping on just a few relevant claims. But it's tricky. Like it's very market dependent. Like in some markets, these claims are just regulation. So it's really should not be. It is greenwash to highlight them. So and you know, Provenance is an anti-greenwash tool. So we don't like to kind of help perpetuate that. But there are certain chemicals that maybe go over and above legislation, and we think we can help. So yeah, we're slowly but surely working with retailers to just try and make consistent, credible claims across the board. But yeah, if you see that on a retailer and you think we should be helping them out, let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Oh, thanks.
Thanks for your talk. This is a B2C tool. What's your view on the usefulness of things like this up the value chain? So some of us have lots of interactions with raw material suppliers and in manufacturing. So yeah, do you have a view on that and thoughts around it?
Definitely, yeah. No, so we've been very focused on the relationship between brand and shopper, as you quite rightly identified. And we, at the moment, we see that as being a really important kind of situation in terms of getting more and more sustainability claims into the market. And it's also public transparency, which is very important to us. But absolutely, so, you know, Provenance started life doing quite a lot of work actually in supply chains and kind of brokering claims between actors in supply chains. Absolutely essential. I think what we've worked out is that for us to do that well, we have to do it in partnership. So we rely on working with different traceability providers, different certifications that are doing audits throughout the entire chain of custody. And so, yeah, you know, our plan is to try and make sure we can absorb as much of that and make cascade going from supplier level into brand level and making that as easy as possible. So that's really our focus. But yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity. And the framework does work, actually. I think we've just been having some chats with various people that are looking at more like the relationship between suppliers and brands. And the framework's open source. So we're really hoping more suppliers will use claims represented in this way. And then that makes it really easy for brands to kind of cascade that on should they need to. But it's a tricky one because especially in beauty, like a lot of the really interesting claims do relate to a very small percentage of ingredients. And so actually getting that to a product level claim that you can make credibly on e-commerce can be quite complicated. But yeah, very, very much pro doing this. And yeah, that's why we made the framework open source as well. Great. I think we might have time for like one more question maybe if there's anything burning. Or I think me and quite a few of the team from Provenance will be having drinks now and welcome your questions then, if that works for everybody.